This is called Sympathetic Suffering. The status quo of the breathing body is fear of death. There is a tremor in my voice. There is no harmony at all, anywhere. And this never stops. The use of nature, which is what is given, swarming with the light, with no knowledge of her creator, with no seeking judgment in the act, the being not avowed in love, even though that be undefined and unknown by the rampant seeker, in desire, in wildness, prejudice, and mystery. The techniques by which we fix up for a moment of pleasure are all artificial, and they are doomed and will not last. But you shall harm another person and inflict upon the world around you for a long term the very thing you seem to suffer. When you do not surrender to the author of death, and all epitome in creation, and all detail, who hung the stars out in the night. We are here, and we are half accomplished in the friendship of soul. I can speak the truth to you. You can't deny we have the starting point for the thesis in which I bind myself to you. I think I'm sympathetically suffering your extinction in a heaven of material bliss, and that I don't consider suffering myself at all. I fear I may preside in a wasteland of my own making, that I don't actually love you near enough to save you from the pain, the magic kingdom of the soul. Ah, yes, the soul, whose thirst can make all history seem in service to its own mere toying around with the truth that the soul has warded off already. Yes. I fear I cannot save you from the pain I have warded off myself with incantation and a holy, cautious regard, piety for the inward preeminence of thought. Thought, stripping the memory dry, and the inward presentation of the sight ahead, of the absurd body slain, halfway across the scarlet terrain, which is the light of the year, falling back across the year into the nether embrace of the time before the weather, like a rough gauge, like infinity. Maybe you have taken refuge in the thought that experience here is of the world. But you can't remember what it is you brought. And that is a fatal mixture which is bound to bring harm to other people. For you always forget the particular part that will never be repeated. It seems to fade away. And you take a fork and spoon and play like they were magnets. Yes, you know, magnetism, that runs deep. And with mystery, you are padded. With experience, you are learned and most wise. You partake of suffering just so much. You keep it unresolved, like the prideful gods that decorate. In marble, in plaster, in glossy reduplication, in idolatry and all-consuming, in flipping through the endless magazines while you're eating. All the corners of the society you have inhabited since the beginning of reliance on your own special brand of despair. How's that? all slow consideration, all silence, all forms of resignation. These are the slow upturning face of death. How's that? These are the times of ecstasy. This is the dawning of all artifice. More certain of its rights, its rights, its natural rights, more certain of its rights than the martyrs of the Lord. Think upon it. It is knowing how to say, I am not wasted here in this life, in the material world. I am not grafted here like roots of trees, like the birds whose fossils lay on mountains where the ocean once reigned, like a dog with red eyes howling at the moon. I am not really here at all. And other people, let them fall in the way of errant kings of old. Like the story of life was endlessly replayed. Like before, not me, but my Father. And the world thus only imagined is in the chains and bonds of sympathetic suffering. Many interests not fully dedicated. Someone else who would be a person here. The man of dust is all mixed up. The man of dust is all mixed up. He is grotesque. He wishes for immortality instead of life. For life is too much. It calls for judgment and a harsher spirit than the man of dust was born with. Certain is some grasp of death he brought into the world, like a long-term secret in his heart. In guilt, you are stopped with no whole scenario. A world with no true sorrow, but only the ones who are lost. And I saw in a revelation the shining clouds across the earth. Someone is confused because they cannot suffer really, but are fumbling and grinning and slashing and pummeling everything in their way towards sickness, like they would behold a former glory. Why feast the eyes and stuff the mind with stories and ideas, as if you were making some great study? Why turn the page when it's always the same? The chronic complaint, the trembling idea of sin. How's that? The temptations of a devil, whose duress it seems some ancient peoples almost made strict chronicle of. Yes, it was not quaint the way the old folks moved, with muttering lips and shaking hands across the kitchen with the tea tray. The true daughter is going to say, she is going to say, that guy is artificial. And she will turn away and he, the false lover, has nowhere to go but into a plastic booth and munch a while. Maybe play with a fork and spoon, like they were magnets. We've heard this story in times before. Real miracles would follow in this place. should I find the pain that the healer had? And this in a revelation I saw, that the healer has put behind the suffering of the gods of the weather, the slave laborers of nature, behind the host of angels, in the blood of the cross. Marking time, making history, giving a past to the world, giving us all that is lost in the eternal shame of life never held now, here in the empty day of the modern epoch. As close as the conception of God, as terrible as the dark freedom within. But don't these eyes, and don't these hands know of a resurrection of themselves? Aren't I getting stronger by the history of their involvement? Shall life be an interlude of the immemorial soul? Who is such a bad sport of the sky, such a transgressor, such an evolutionary hero? Shall a mere indwelling in the career of a doubter, who is actually quite stupid and stumbling his hairstyle of these days, bring a charge against the frail trees, against the horizon, and the people whom I have known here? Or shall I believe that suffering is the mirror of what is befalling those I love? And shall I recoup? There is the pattern. This in a revelation I heard whispered. Recoup the sense of myself that you have loved, and that your faith in earnest sightedness was wont to simply assume. Did I not give what I cherished most? Did I not swear that you shall not suffer and perish at my neglect? Ah, yes, wasn't that the nature of the promise entirely? Well, it is true. There are nets and clouds of sufferings and doubts. There are rare infringements of your power that vanish like we were unbeatable. When I take the study of truth upon myself, and there, reserved, are the words to say. Nothing but pure joy is what waits for us. In that heaven, whose origin is in life upon the earth. Thank you. The media assassins are Ryan Shuptar, trumpet, Jim Losigno, saxophone, Arpad, playing here for the first time with us on the bass, Joff Wilson, guitar, and also a new member, Charlie Curran, on the trumpet.